The remote was never the point. I was in the kitchen slicing tomatoes for a salad when the television suddenly went silent. Not muted, off. My husband of 37 years, Victor, stood in the doorway holding the remote like a trophy. Behind him, our daughter Marina and her husband, Oleg. They had just returned from some warehouse sale, judging by the number of plastic bags. "Enough of this old lady series," Victor said loudly, as if he were announcing something important at a family council. "From today, the big TV is for normal people. You want to watch your Turkish soap operas? There's a small one in the bedroom. Go there." Marina looked at the cutting board. Oleg smirked and began taking out packages of discounted protein bars and energy drinks from the bags. I put the knife down very carefully. The blade reflected the light from the pendant lamp above the table. "Victor," I said quietly, "this is still my house, too." He laughed shortly, the way men laugh when they are already sure they have won. "Your house? Darling, let's not start that conversation again. Who paid the last renovation? Who changed the windows? Who installed the air conditioning? Me. So now I decide what plays on the TV in the living room." I looked at Marina. For 29 years I carried her under my heart, then 9 more months on my arms, then another 29 years, somewhere between my heart and my wallet. Now she was staring intently at the cellophane packaging of some imported cookies. "Marina," I asked very calmly, "do you also think that the living room now belongs to your father?" She shrugged one shoulder, the smallest, most cowardly movement in the world. "Mom, you know how Dad gets when he's tired after work." I nodded slowly, as if I had just received the last piece of information I needed. "Okay," I said. I wiped my hands on a towel. I took my phone, my purse, the car keys from the hook by the door. I walked past them, 3 statues frozen in different degrees of awkwardness. "Where are you going?" Victor asked with slight irritation, already pressing buttons on the remote. "To breathe air that doesn't smell like your victory," I answered without turning around. The door closed behind me with a very ordinary click. That evening, I checked into a small business hotel on the bypass road. Not luxurious, clean, quiet. The kind of place where traveling salesmen and people who suddenly need distance from their own life usually stay. I ordered green tea and a cheese plate. I sat by the window and for the first time in many years allowed myself not to think about what was happening at home right now. Let them figure out who will wash the dishes after their celebratory dinner. The next morning at 7:45 a.m., a gray Volkswagen Passat stopped in front of our gate. From it came a young woman in a strict pantsuit and a man in his 50s with the calm face of someone who has served thousands of notices. They rang the bell. Victor opens the door in yesterday's t-shirt. "Good morning. We are looking for the owner of the property, Tkachenko Larisa Petrovna." "That's me," I said, stepping out from behind the corner of the house. I had arrived 20 minutes earlier. I was waiting in my car with tinted windows. Victor's face changed in stages: surprise, irritation, understanding, poorly concealed panic. "What the hell is this?" he barked. The woman in the pantsuit took a step forward. "Tkachenko Larisa Petrovna, I am junior lawyer Sofia Wikelna Gracheva. On behalf of the owner of the property, that is, you, I am serving a notice of termination of gratuitous use of the residential premises by third parties." She handed Victor a stack of papers and a transparent file. He took it automatically. "This is what?" 30 days, Sophia said very clearly and loudly so that the neighbors who had already begun to peek out of windows could hear perfectly. 30 calendar days to vacate the premises. After this period, the owner reserves the right to apply to court for forced eviction, recovery of fair market rent for the entire period of use, as well as compensation for moral damage and legal costs. Victor's mouth opened and closed several times. But we're married." "Were," I corrected gently. Yesterday at 4:17 p.m., I submitted an application for divorce. You can check at the registry office. The 3-day reflection period has already begun. Marina appeared in the doorway, pale, without makeup. Mom? I looked at her for a long moment. When your father said old lady series and go to the bedroom, you were silent. When he said, from today the big TV is for normal people, you were silent again. I waited 37 years for at least once you would not be silent. You chose silence. Now live with the consequences of your choice. I turned to Sophia. Please proceed. Sophia nodded to the man beside her. He took out a small camera. Video recording of service of the notice. Today's date, time, address. Persons present, owner, Tichenko LP, unauthorized users, Tichenko VN, and Tichenko MV ne Tichenko, Tichenko OS. Victor suddenly shouted, "You've gone crazy! This is our home!" "No," I said very quietly, "this is my home. You lived in it, you ate in it, you slept in it, you renovated it with my money that I earned at the factory for 23 years after you got tired of working nights, but it was never yours, and it still isn't." I looked at Marina one last time. You have 30 days. If you want to talk, not scream, not reproach, not manipulate guilt, call my lawyer. If you want to continue the performance of how Mom offended everyone, don't call at all. I turned around and walked to my car. Behind me, Victor's roar, Marina's crying, Sophia's calm, trained voice. Please sign here that you have received the notice. Refusal to sign will be recorded. In this case, service will be considered completed by publication in the local newspaper and affixing to the door. I got into my car, started the engine, drove away without looking in the rearview mirror. That evening, I bought a small apartment in a new building on the other side of the river. 1 bedroom, 18th floor, big window, very quiet. I didn't take much furniture, only what was really mine. Books, my mother's old sewing machine, the small TV I bought in 1998 when I got my first bonus, and the coffee grinder that Victor hated because it makes too much noise in the morning. A month later, the court approved the divorce in absentia. Victor didn't appear. Marina sent a notarized letter through a lawyer asking to divide the jointly acquired property. In response, she received an excerpt from the registry and my answer consisting of 6 words: "There is no jointly acquired property." 2 months after that, Marina called. I picked up on the 8th ring. "Mom, we found an apartment to rent. Small, far away, but we'll manage." I was silent. "I left him," she said suddenly. 2 weeks ago, he started shouting that I was on your side. I just took my documents and left." Again, silence. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," she whispered. I wanted you to know." I looked out the window. Below, evening lights were already on in the windows of the neighboring houses. Very ordinary life. "I know," I said finally. "I saw how you left the apartment with 2 suitcases. You didn't look back. That was a good decision." Another pause. "Can I, sometime, come over for tea? Not to live, just tea." I thought about it. "On Thursdays, from 7 to 9, no later. I go to bed early." "Okay," she said quickly, as if she was afraid I would change my mind. "Thursday, 7. I hung up. That Thursday at 6:59 p.m., the doorbell rang. Very carefully, almost apologetically. I opened. Marina stood at the threshold with a small box of eclairs and a frightened face. I stepped aside. "Come in." She stepped over the threshold like someone stepping on thin ice. The apartment smelled of fresh coffee and cardamom. We sat at the small table by the window. She looked around for a long time. "It's cozy." "It's mine," I answered simply. We drank coffee, ate eclairs, talked about nothing important. At 8:57 p.m., she stood up. "Thank you for the tea." I nodded. "Next Thursday, if you want." She nodded quickly. "I want." I closed the door behind her. Then I went to the window. The city was shining below, very big, very indifferent. I took the remote from the coffee table, the small TV I bought in 1998. I turned it on. Some old Soviet film was playing. I turned the volume up a little, then a little more, then as loud as I wanted. No one came to say it was too loud. No one turned it off. No one told me to go to the bedroom. I sat in my favorite chair, closed my eyes, and listened. For the first time in many years, I really listened. And for the first time in many years, the sound was exactly the way I liked it. Not louder, not quieter, just right. And that, it seems, was the most important thing I learned in all these 37 years. Not how to win, not how to punish, but how to finally set the volume the way you need it,